Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and Mr. Shanahan, thank you again for your willingness to serve, and appreciate your family being here. Appreciate the meeting we had yesterday. I'm going to follow up on, I think, what you're seeing as a theme here, which is people believe that you have a lot of background in helping us address what's a very significant challenge. So give me a sense at Boeing, how many 787s are you producing a month there?
12 a month.
So we're trying to build one icebreaker for the United States, and one of the estimates that's come out of our services is it's going to take 10 years and $1 billion. And so there's a lot of focus. The chairman mentioned his opening statement about acquisition and acquisition reform that we've tried to do here, but we also need people in the building who understand how to get to efficiencies. When you think about this, how do we go from, obviously, we're not Boeing,
Right.
but 12 aircraft a month that Americans can do in our country to one ship, 1 billion, 10 years to develop? What are some of the things that you need to be focused on and we should be focused on to get us out of this sense where we can't build anything on time or have a 600-page RFP for a handgun?
Sure. I think Senator Tillis was on this track. You need leadership that has judgment that says 10 years and $1 billion seems like a long time. I mean,
Do you think that seems like a long time?
it's a long time.
Isn't it by the time you build a ship that the technology of 10 years is completely outdated, the ship you just built?
I can only imagine that it would be, and you would be spending another bunch of money to upgrade it.
So what do we need to do?
Well,
What experiences can you bring to help us with that, help the country with that? It's enormously important.
yeah, the two things that have helped me the most are you've got to get good leaders in place. They just have the judgment. It's like 300 pages. We don't need this for a handgun. The other is
I think it's 600, but nevertheless.
yeah.
680.
Okay. And then it gets back to why the audit is so important. We need to have an understanding of our cost baseline because in whether you're in automotive or in aerospace, what should it cost? It's back to the ship one. What should this ship cost? And it's just physics to weld it up. It's, we can run the math to say this is what it should cost in terms of commercial practices. That'll inform us. It's one of those, should cost tells you whether you're in the ballpark or not. And if you're 2, 3, 5x, we need to stop the meeting and start over because that's just an unacceptable answer.
So you think the audit process will help us have a much deeper understanding of why we have some of these processes that to any obvious observer seem outrageous?
I think, as I spend time on the audit, it's going to be, where do we want to spend the money to make sure that the data is accurate, and then how do we use that data to inform us on our cost performance? Because there's things that we have to do in the audit to pass it that maybe don't add value, but there are other areas where it really gives us an understanding of where we're inefficient, or in the case of acquisition, this should cost is really doing the qualitative analysis of what a similar ship, and you can parametrically adjust anything, but what would a similar type of commercial vessel cost?
We turn to another issue we talked about yesterday, and that's the Pacific, the laydown of our forces in the Pacific, which a number of us on the committee, the chairman, myself, and others have taken a lot of interest in, because we need to get this right. We've had a hard time getting it right in terms of cost, in terms of strategic location of our Marines and Air Force and other forces. Will you commit to work with this committee on making sure there's a united effort and kind of joint cooperation between the Congress and the Pentagon on making sure we get that correct?
I am committed to doing that.
Final question. I noticed in your background you have a lot of technical expertise on missile defense.
Mm-hmm.
Just give me your sense on what you think are priorities. I know you answered advanced questions for this hearing that dealt with missile defense. A number of us are interested in it. Mm-hmm. What should be our priorities on homeland missile defense, not just missile defense for our allies in the Asia Pacific or the Middle East? And where should the priorities be? And do you see the threat to the homeland increasing? There's been a lot of testimony over the last year from the top military and intelligence officials that it is literally at our doorstep that North Korea is on the verge of an intercontinental ballistic nuclear missile that can range the continental United States. Give us a sense of your thoughts, background, and priorities on missile defense.
Absolutely. My last time in the Department of Defense was over 10 years ago, running the GMD program, Ground-Based Mid-Course Defense, and operationalizing it to defeat a launch of a ICBM out of North Korea. And we emplaced all of the interceptors. I think there are 40 of them up in Alaska. The North Koreans are learning quickly. I mean, 10 missile tests this year is, they're going to continue to evolve their capability. We need to evolve our capability and make sure we have, sufficient inventory in Alaska and other places to, protect against, a launch or a threat from the North Koreans.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.